Well, so much for this idea. Hey, this is Tom, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show. And I'm down here in my workshop. I haven't been down here using my equipment in several months. Just too hot, but it's finally cooled off. It is 84 degrees, only 84 degrees, and I got my fan on. You're probably hearing that in my background. But I'm just messing around with the latest version of SDRuno, which came out a couple weeks ago, and I had not installed it on this computer down here in my workshop, so I thought I would do that. And then I'm like, okay, I gotta change the layout. They don't fit anymore on the screen. So I've rearranged all the windows, mainly to get this scheduler window up on the screen all the time, and to try to fill in all the areas. So I've got the scanner over here, got the memory modules over here, got the waterfall and spectrum display here, and the scheduler here, and then of course these windows up here as usual. And I was getting this signal 6.185 pretty strong, and I looked it up. This is Fran telling me what possible stations it might be, so I looked it up on YouTube jeez, short-wave.info, and it listed this one down here on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that or not. And then the one from China. So this one is from Mexico, and this one is from China. Most likely, since I'm in Florida, I was hearing the one from Mexico. Plus, it sounded like they were singing in Spanish. So I think that's what that was. Let me unmute it and see if it came back. As you can see, it's weird. It's a pretty low signal, but look how wide it is. Up here, look. Okay, I may not have the settings correct. Let me unmute it. Oh. Yeah, it's way down in the mud now. What I've got connected to, this is my RSP DX, and I've got my 31-foot vertical antenna from MFJ. Now I have my Megaloop right now connected to my Texan H-501X, and I'll see if you can hear that. Let me turn it back up. Don't know if you can, let me turn the fan down a little bit. Yeah, it's getting pretty weak too. Now what that was really clear. That was a half hour ago. It's music, but I can't make it out, and it's even worse on this setup. And the other thing I was noticing earlier was that it would come in quite good, and then it would drop out, and then it would come in quite good, then it would drop out. So things are changing a lot right now in shortwave. We are now heading into the fall, which, at least from my area, my location, shortwave reception improves in the fall over what it has been in the summer. So we're looking forward to that. There's actually supposed to be some cold weather this coming weekend. Not so cold here, maybe get down in the mid 70s during the day. That would be really a change from the lower 90s it's been all summer. Yeah. What was I saying? I hate when the computer interrupts you, especially with my little feeble mind. I had tried to do a scan before I start changing the configuration. Now, one thing I want to mention is the people at SDR Play just had what they call a webinar for new users on SDRuno. And I watched it, even though I've been using it for several years, because I tend to forget how to use things in it because it's got so many, look at all these possibilities. So I learned quite a bit from watching that show, so you might want to do that. I watched it at 1.5 times speed, and then when it got it to something I had forgotten about or didn't know, then I stopped it and played it at normal speed. And the one thing that, and I can't remember his name, the gentleman that was showing it, the way he kind of sets things up is he uses these band select buttons, which also will set the configuration over here for the given band. And I had noticed that in messing around with the setup, and I just changed the frequency, I had changed things which had deteriorated my reception. So by going over here, selecting bands, and in this case I want to listen to the broadcast bands, and what it does is when you do that, it selects all the proper setups here. And like if you pick ham lower, same thing, it changes the mode to lower sideband, changes some of these filters. So that was, to me, a good hint that I had completely forgotten about. So you might want to go watch that just to get refreshed on some things if you're a longtime user of SDRuno. If you're new to SDRuno, excuse me, it can become very overwhelming, and that show was a great starting point. I'm losing my voice already this morning. I did it again. No, I didn't. 6185. Notice this big, maybe that's when I had 9.5. But I was getting this wide band here. Now let's see if it cleared up. Nope. It looks like whatever the signal was, it has gone away. Now let me see if it's still there on my Texan. Nope. So that's the thing about shortwave listening, especially right now with the solar flux index in the toilet. Conditions change like rapidly. So the 7:05 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time right now, and it was about an hour ago, 6 o'clock or before that, I was getting this station really strong, and now it's in the toilet. So let's just quickly, before I leave, let's start to scan over again. It's scanning this memory bank here, which is the EIBI database. It's 6 or 8 months old. I wish I could find the contact for the gentleman that created this database for me. What it is the EIBI database that you download and you can import into SDRuno, has a ton of duplicates because it's listing each station by frequency, and if they have different shows at different times of the day, it makes that a separate input, so you get tons of duplicates. And what this gentleman did for me he wrote a little algorithm in Excel to get rid of all those duplications. And so then I took that database, and I broke it down into smaller databases. Like this one is all of the frequencies above 5 megahertz to 30 megahertz, because the original EIBI database starts way down at long wave. And of course I don't want long wave, I don't want AM, I don't want all that stuff. So I'm hoping he will notice this show and help me out again. If nothing else, send me the algorithm so I can do it myself. I've tried to do it myself, but my brain is too fuzzy anymore. I can't think that hard. So anyway, that's what I've got here, and I can do a scan of this memory bank right now for you. And shut up. 5 megahertz. Now let me stop it for 1 second, explain something. Okay, up here in the scan window, what it's showing here is the station information out of here. Over here, which is very similar, as a matter of fact, this one is identical. This is the station information from the plug-in Fran. Now, the gentleman who wrote Fran, which I love this program, he originally, when he released his original versions of Fran, he included a database. Again, one that he had massaged, shall we say, probably from the EIBI database. And the last update he did to the software and the last database he included was from March of this year. So that is old. So these kind of match, but they're not exactly the same. So now I'll shut up and let it scan for a few more minutes. Could that have been in Thailand? That's what it was showing.
Y el presidente de Brasil, Jair Bolsonaro, afirmó en la apertura de la Asamblea General de la
Radio Martini. I'm only going to let it go up to 9 megahertz. That's this time of the morning here in Clearwater, Florida. You're not going to get much above 9 megahertz. And the band is really quiet. Although that's another, I mean, there's so many things you can change. So you can change, the you can change the amplification here on this window. Apparently got it turned down. When it gets to 9, I'm going to stop and I'm going to change that amplitude here just to show you. Okay, that's enough. We'll pause, and now I come up here to settings, and I could, there's more, look at all these possibilities of things you can change. So we're looking for the spectrum range, maybe. Let's see what it does when I change it. Yeah, okay, how about spectrum base? Nope. That's about right. Let me okay, that's good enough. I mean, I really, really, really like using SDRs nowadays because you get all this visual information and like you get this real-time database information. I mean, you can't do that on your Texan H-501X, but of course you need a computer. It's not standalone. So it's very much a trade-off between having a standalone receiver such as the Texan H-501X and a software-defined radio, which does require a computer, but it gives you all these options. Now, some people will say, well, it's too confusing, and I can agree with you there. Matter of fact, if I don't use this for a while, I have to retrain myself. And there are a bunch of different applications. SDR Sharp is another one. HDR is another one. That one's pretty easy to use. And if you get the proper drivers from the SDR Play people for your RSP, then you can use some of those other applications that you might find easier to use. Okay, I think I've babbled enough. I lost the signal. Let's go back just for grins and look at 5 megahertz. Oh. I know I could type it in easy. Ooh, that's getting pretty good. That's a pretty good signal. Let's unmute it. Yeah. Good. Even that's fading in and out. So bottom line, I think now that we're going into the fall, I think shortwave reception should improve. And hopefully the solar flux index will get above 100, which is super. We can get it 100 plus, that's ideal. We'll start hearing those shortwave stations. And you can see by this list right here, there are a ton of stations out there on shortwave. This goes on and on and on and on and on and on. That's just 5 megahertz here. But right now, at least for me, being on the west coast of Florida, reception hasn't been too good. That's it. If you enjoyed this show, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, why don't you do that? I'd appreciate that. And have a great day. Bye-bye.